Welcome everyone to the channel Talitha Coom. Today I want to talk about 10 pieces of wedding advice that I would personally give to any bride-to-be. At the time I am recording this video, I got married just a little over a month ago, so this advice is pretty fresh. Is it going to apply to everyone? No. But do I think it could potentially be useful? Yes, hence why I'm even making this video. You hear it all the time. Wedding planning is so stressful. And in the beginning, my husband and I didn't really think so. We thought, oh no, if you're on top of it and you're planning in advance, it can't be. And in the beginning, it was really good for us. And then we took a little bit of a break because both of us got quite busy, especially me with my job, planning out dances for the recital. So I thought, oh, when recital's done, at the end of June, I'll get back into it. Yeah, that's when everything got stressful because we were in the last few months and there were so many decisions to make and a lot of things that I'll kind of talk about and touch on in these 10 pieces of advice. So there's that. I should also preface that some of these will probably only apply to Christian couples. So if you are not Christian, then yeah, I guess you can skip over those bullet points as they come. All this to say, the list is not exhaustive by any means. But when I thought about the idea of, what things do I wish someone had mentioned to me? Or what things am I glad my husband and I did or didn't do that I would like to extend that advice to someone else? These were the 10 things that came up. Again, not exhaustive and not applicable to everyone. Number 1 is that you are both a team. You're in this together. It's about the both of you together in the eyes of God under the covenant and sacrament of marriage. It's not just about what you've been planning on your Pinterest board, and I do have a video about getting obsessed with Pinterest boards, but I will say I did actually use quite a few things from mine, and now I deleted them, so that's nice to finally have those gone, I guess, but they were useful. And it's not just about what he wants. Just because you've been planning years in advance doesn't mean that supersedes anything that he might have been thinking about. This is most especially important when there might be conflicts that arise with certain decisions and people from both sides kind of pressuring the both of you. You want to make sure you guys are a unit. Nothing should ever be, well, my fiance said blah, blah, blah. It should always be, we have decided, we have discussed. Everything is we. You need to start that now. Because when you are dealing with some sort of conflict and it's, well, my fiance, whether it's him talking about you or you talking about him, you're setting up a precedent that this is what they want, I'm just giving in. No. Team, we decided this. We want this or don't want this. Cannot emphasize that enough. Number 2 is that what is high priority to the both of you might differ from the advisors and the peanut gallery around you. Therefore, I suggest you make a list of 3 to 5 things that are non-negotiables for your wedding day. As an example, for us, we decided that getting a really good professional photographer was a non-negotiable because those photos are forever and we want someone who knows what they're doing, and we do not regret that one bit. Actually, I will link her stuff down below. Please check her out. We also said who our music director was for our wedding ceremony was a non-negotiable. So we had to fight hard to get that too. But then there were other things that we weren't set in stone on, like specific color choices or even my bridesmaids dresses. An issue came up with that I realized, oh, well, guess we'll just pick out a different dress. Not a big deal. Figure out which battles you're willing to fight, knowing that the things you put as not non-negotiables, you might have to settle on a little bit. Pick your battles and budget for those battles. Number 3, do get yourself a wedding planning book or a wedding planner as a person. I did not choose a wedding planner. I thought I could do it myself with the help, of course, of my fiance, now husband, and my mom. But I didn't get a book. Not until about 3 months before my wedding. That was a bad idea. I was so overwhelmed. I like to be in control and know everything that's happening. And sometimes that can delve into vice. 100% it can, and I've gotten better about it. But I also like to plan, and I wasn't planning very well. I didn't know when deposits were going to be due. I didn't know what I had left to do versus what I had done, what I had picked out. And people were asking me questions because they knew I decided to be in charge of everything. And I didn't want to put everything on my mom or matron of honor because they both lived so far away. More on that later. And it was a mistake to not have the book. So even though I didn't get the book till like July, it did actually help a ton. What ended up happening is I was at my mom's house, and she was like, you've got to get a wedding planning book. And we just ordered one from Amazon. In fact, we ordered several from Amazon and returned the ones that I wasn't a huge fan of. And this is the one that I went with. I liked the design of it. I liked how it looked on the inside. There were tabs that I could put stuff in. So like under planning, I was able to put stuff in here. I love the tabs, the budget section. I was able to keep all the receipts and such for that. The guest list. It was so helpful for me. Highly recommend. Do get yourself a planning book and just write stuff down. Now, if you yourself are not very good at planning or being organized, but you still don't want to pay to have a planner because you don't need anything that crazy, because I will tell you this, I thought mine was a small wedding, but there's really no such thing as a small wedding unless you're just getting married at a courthouse. Then pick someone else. If your soon-to-be husband is super organized, let him write everything down. If your mom is super organized, ask her to do it. If your maid or matron of honor is super organized, ask them to do it. I personally did it myself, but find someone who is super organized that is close to you in everything that is happening for your wedding and get a book. Just do it. You'll be so grateful. Number 4, pick a reliable wedding party. It can be quite an emotional venture picking your bridesmaids and picking your maid or matron of honor, or if you have multiple, because you don't want feelings to get hurt and there's so many people in your life that you love. And for me, I know that I could have easily picked up to 10 women. I could have had multiple maid and matrons of honor. Anyone could have fit into that category, it felt like. But I knew that wasn't reasonable. I knew that I needed something simple and small so that it was easier to coordinate, so that there was no drama, which, praise be to God, there wasn't. Absolutely none whatsoever with my bridal party. Were there women in my life that I wish I had asked, that I wish I could have found a way to have more? Sure, but I don't regret having a small bridal party in the slightest. Now, for some women, this isn't possible. Maybe you have multiple sisters or cousins you're close to, but make sure you can rely on them. Or just don't give big tasks to the ones that maybe you can't rely on, but you kind of have to, even though it's your wedding day and you shouldn't have to have anyone by your side that you don't want to be by your side. But I'm telling you, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to make you feel guilty about things that you shouldn't feel guilty about because it's not their day. If you have any doubts about some of the women that you're considering, whether or not they can follow through on the things you need for them, I know you don't want to hurt feelings, but this is a very important day, and it's not selfish to say, hey, I want to have you there, but in a different capacity. But this leads me to number 5, which is make sure you have reasonable expectations for your bridal party. Now, I am mostly talking about your own. You can't really say too much about who your fiance picks, but you can suggest this same advice to him for both points 4 and 5. But if you want a reliable wedding party, you need to have reasonable expectations. Using my own example, because that's the experience I have, all 3 of my bridesmaids lived crazy far. When I say crazy far, I mean like 18-hour drives far. 2 of them were married with kids. One with 2 under the age of 2, and the other with 1 under the age of 2 and another on the way. And even the one that wasn't married with kids, she has a job. She can't just say, I'm gone at the drop of a hat. That's her income. That would have been ridiculous and nonsensical for me to demand that they have to be there at everything. Dress fittings, when I get the dress and the bridal shower and everything. Now, were 2 of them able to make it to the bridal shower? They were, and they went through some hoops to get there. The third one was gonna be there, but stuff happened and she couldn't. Not the end of the world. Reasonable expectations based on what your bridesmaids could do. Here's the thing, for me, what mattered most was that they were there the day of in a dress that I had picked out and approved of in the color, and that they were there basically the week before, I guess, or a few days before, so we could be together, talk, chat, hang out, help me with some last minute things, and just be there the day of, because I love them and I wanted their support because I was so close to all 3 of them, and they had been there for some really tough times in my life that I wanted them to be right next to me for one of the greatest moments in my life. That's what mattered. Now, would it have been extra amazing if they lived nearby? Yeah, that would have been amazing, but that wasn't reality. And so my expectations had to be seated in reality. For me, my expectations were, I will give you options for a dress. I will tell you what color. Pick one of those. It'll be a reasonable price, but if you have issues with that, just let me know. We'll agree on shoes, colorings, and jewelry coloring at a later point. They basically all just brought a bunch the day of, and they're like, hey, do you like this one? I was like, yeah, that one works. Not high priority. They were going to look beautiful no matter what. I wasn't picky about their hair. I didn't fine tune every little thing, because that's ridiculous, especially because they know what they feel beautiful in. And so they should be able to pick that. And I also trust them not to pick ridiculous things. If you feel like your bridesmaids are going to pick ridiculous things, then either you're too controlling, they're not reliable, or a mixture of both. And I asked them to be there a few days before the wedding. That was it. And of course, we had a group chat on Instagram where I would throw out ideas and be like, hey, I'm really stressed. Can y'all pray for me? Things like that. And that's all I needed. And they were above and beyond amazing. Oh, the bachelorette party was the sweetest thing ever. They made it Tangled themed because they know how much I love Tangled. And it was just here in my apartment. It was absolutely beautiful. It was perfect because I told them, hey, we could literally just have a slumber party and I would be over the moon, thrilled, because I don't get to see them very often. So reasonable expectations. If you want a reliable bridal party, you need to have reasonable expectations for them. Number 6 is pray every single day with your fiance. We did not do this for a long time, and it started to show. Not in how we treated each other, but we were just losing sight of the bigger picture. And even if it was just calling each other real late at night after we both got off work and just doing a little, Jesus, thank you so much for bringing us together, amen. Even if that's all it was, that was something to keep us rooted in the greater spiritual purpose behind our marriage. Pray together every day. Simple as that. Number 7, have a rant person, if you will, that's not your fiance. You and your soon-to-be husband are already both dealing with a lot, and there are a lot of things that he's not going to be able to answer and you're not going to be able to answer for him. You need to have someone else you can go to. Now, when I say rant, I don't mean just complaining. I did this. Don't do that. Just the negativity. No one can deal with that. But I would go to my mom or my matron of honor, and sometimes my other bridesmaids too, because again, we had a group chat, just asking for prayers or for advice. It could be as simple as, hey, I'm really torn between these colors. What do you guys think? And they would give their opinions. That's it. Do you really think I should be going to my fiance with all those little nook and cranny details? No. 1, he would be just as stressed as I am. And 2, he's never been married before. So I went to my bridesmaids, all of whom had either been in weddings or were married themselves, or my mom, who had a lot of experience in this area because she was a florist for a long time and saw a lot of different details about weddings. My point being, have someone you can go to about these little nuanced details for advice, knowing that their advice is not law, but can help guide you. And also pray with you, pray for you. That's very helpful too. Number 8 is look up the advantages of the sites that you're potentially going to use for registries. Which on that note, if you do your wedding website through the Knot, you can have multiple sites for your registry and put them all on the Knot on your wedding website. That way when people go and they look at your registries, they can see all of them at once. And you can even put a little, I don't know what it's called, little extension thing on your browser to where I went to House of Joppa and just grabbed a few things from there and put them on the Knot registry. I can't talk. So people were able to pick from all of that. But going back to my main point, one of the places we did a registry with, actually both of the 2 main places we did, offered discounts afterwards. They both offered one-time use, one place being 50% off and the other one being 20% off coupon codes that for up to a year after the wedding, I can put a bunch of stuff that was not purchased from our registry in the cart, use that code, and get a discount on it. So come maybe February or March, once we've recovered our finances from the wedding, the honeymoon, and Christmas now, we can go back to those registries and say, you know what, here are some things we still would really like, put them in the cart, use the discount code, be able to get them at a cheaper price. And there can be other advantages too to the registries, but that's just the first one I thought of. Number 9 is a really tough one. Invite the people you both want and leave room in the date you choose for the RSVP for people who maybe say no and be able to invite more people that didn't quite make the list. Let me begin with the latter just because that's a little bit easier. So I'm a dance teacher. I have lots of students in our dance company that I would have loved to invite to both ceremony and reception, but that's expensive, that's costly. There's a lot of them and their parents. There was just so much there. And they understood, as did their parents, that they were going to be ceremony only. They live right here. Wasn't going to be that big of a deal. They would have loved to come to the party, but they knew it probably wasn't going to happen. However, my now husband and I decided let's put the RSVP date 2 months before the wedding, so that if people said no by then, and we made sure the invites went out far in advance so they had plenty of time to RSVP, if a bunch of people say no, we can maybe invite some of those girls. And that's exactly what happened. A bunch of people were not able to come, or they didn't respond, and we had to coax an answer out of them. People don't respond. You have to reach out to them. Be ready for that. And we were able to invite most of the dance company, and it was so great to be able to extend the invite, and the parents totally understood. They were like, great, our daughter's just super excited. No one was offended by it, thank goodness, in our case. So leave room there. But the former point, this is so tough because you were going to be pressured. You were going to be guilted into inviting people that either neither of you know, or maybe one of you knows, but that person doesn't really have any relevance in your life simply because, well, they're family, or they've been a part of this thing, or because this family member knows them really well. You've got to set boundaries and stand your ground. You're gonna hurt feelings, but ultimately, the reception, you're paying a lot of money per plate. A lot of money. Or in some cases, it's a parent paying a lot of money, in which case you do have to cater more to them, of course. But you're paying a lot of money per plate, and it's a party that you are hosting, or whoever is paying is hosting, or maybe you're both paying. Essentially, you're the host of this party. You decide who's coming. Don't let that pressure get you. It's going to be hard, but this is where the we team factor will come in. You say, we have decided we don't want to invite them because we don't know them. I understand you know them and you love them. They don't play a big part in our life, and we would rather give that $75 meal to someone whom we both know and have relevance in our life most of the time. They're in our life a lot more than this person who I've met once. That's a really difficult thing to do, but it's important. Now, sure, you might be able to get away with, okay, just one or two, just to make everyone happy. But you should not be pressured or guilted into inviting anyone that neither of you know or really even want there. It's going to be difficult. Be respectful, but be clear in your boundaries. And make sure that whoever the person is that has to do the talking to that person, that it's always the we team aspect, not the, well, my fiance. It's always both of you. Both of you. It's not easy. But you gotta do it because it's kind of a waste of a meal for someone that doesn't even have relevance in either of y'all's lives. And finally, number 10, there is nothing wrong with ceremony only. Let me get the obvious out of the way. If the person would have to get a hotel room, rent a car, fly, drive a ridiculous distance to get there, then yes, ceremony only is ridiculous. But barring that, if there's a lot of people in either of y'all's lives that, you do see them on a regular basis, but you're not close to them, but you know they'd still like to be a part of it, but you don't want to pay $80 for a meal for them because you're not that close to them, invite them to the ceremony. That's free. At least in the Catholic Church, it's free. I hear a lot of stuff now about oh yeah, we invited anyone to the reception, but not everyone could come to the ceremony. I don't understand this. It makes zero sense to me because the ceremony is the important part. So wouldn't you want more people at that? And especially because, again, as a Catholic Christian, anyone can come to that. It doesn't matter if we have 100 people or 500 people. It doesn't change the pricing at all. But if I have 500 people at the reception, that's a lot of food. Even if it's buffet style, that's still a lot of food. So go for it. Make ceremony only invites cheap. There's ways you can do that really cheap through Walgreens, or just tell them straight up, hey, this is when our wedding ceremony is. Feel free to come. And if they ask about the reception, you can respectfully say, oh, we would love to invite more people. That's just not feasible, but we would love to have anyone that can come to the ceremony. That's what I did at my dance studio. Every single one of my students was invited. Anyone could come to the ceremony. Now, if someone gets upset and they're saying, well, I don't really want to go unless I can go to the party part of it, they might not have your best interest. They might not really care about the actual sacrament or the fact that you're getting married, just in general, even if they don't care about the sacramental part of it. They care more about getting free food and maybe alcohol or something like that. That might not be the case for everyone, but definitely ran into that a little bit. The offense of, well, I can't believe I wasn't invited to the party. No one's entitled to be there. You're allowed to have just 5 people if you wanted it that way. They're all witnesses, and it's whoever you want to have at the party with you. If people get offended, that kind of answers it for you, that you were never right to invite them anyway. So those were my 10 pieces of advice for those that are brides-to-be and feel a little bit overwhelmed. Like I said, not all of it is applicable to every couple, but I hope that maybe at least one piece of advice did help. Be sure to let me know in the comment section below if any of it sounds helpful to you, or if you're already married, what are some pieces of advice that you would have? Be sure to also follow me over on Instagram at @TalithaCoom Ministry, just for more content as I try to build this back up and start again with the videos and the content. If you enjoyed the video, maybe consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video. It would be very much appreciated. But thank you again so much for watching, and God bless.